All right, well, all right, what's up, guys? Weston D Money here. Today we're gonna be making a little Brent Faiyaz type beat, something with some bounce, something kind of R&B oriented. If you listen to the last album, it's a lot of like vintage textures, sort of like the regular sort of bass hits that he really likes. Nice drums and shit. I'm not gonna overcomplicate this. I'll just kind of show you some of my thinking, and we can get into it and hopefully make something good. I'm gonna start with the drums actually. So I'm gonna get some drums down, and then I'll kind of talk you guys through it. Let's get a kick. And then a hi-hat. I know this is gonna have to be in time because it's kind of got that hi-hat hitting there, and I like it because it's like really dirty. So I might, I might just do this in the arranger thing because that's gonna be much easier to tell. Stretch. Stretch just determines how the pitch is going to change as it stretches out, right? So if you don't put stretch on, the kick would get lower in pitch as you stretch out the waveform. So I'm just gonna put that there at 160. Actually, maybe I want it like really tight. Yeah, that's nice. Is that gonna be quick enough? So I think this is will be a first. That's way too fucking loud. Gotta love it. Still too loud. Let's pan that, and then I want it a little pitch down. Yeah, nice. That's fine. All right. Then we're gonna take this. We're gonna deselect that. Go like that. And I want a couple more, I want a couple hard kick hits in that last four bar, that fourth bar there. These are the drums, right? So I don't know how much I'm going to cut this up, but pretty much we started with that first kind of two bars of like, so like these two bars, just copied it over, added a couple more kick hits, and changed where that open hat is. Give it a little bounce. So now, when I'm thinking about my first sound that I throw in there, I got a lot of choices. I play guitar, I play piano. I'm a lot better at piano than guitar. So I could definitely throw in some keys, like a chill sort of like piano-like sound. That's an option. I know that I'm gonna want space on it with whatever I do. I'm gonna want it to be kind of lush chords, but not too busy because again, the drums, if you look at them, there's something hitting on almost every beat. So I'm not gonna want to do something like super super busy. So what should I do? So I'm actually gonna slow it down a good bit. I felt like 160 was good at the start, but this is it at 120, same drums. Yeah, something. All right, so when I didn't change the tempo, I had a literally like an impossible time trying to figure out anything to do on it. After I changed the tempo, I got on the keys and I took a Rhodes. Now a Rhodes, usually when I just play in a Rhodes, I want to do something like really boring. Usually it's like, okay, let me do like like a minor four, or not a minor four, like a major four, major seven, like a four chord major seven, sort of like 80s sounding, but I didn't want to go that way here. I kind of wanted to go something that sounded a little more new, a little more fresh, something that sounds like that modern R&B. So I took a Rhodes and I put some delay on it, and then I just tried to do little flourishes and chords. That's what this sounds like. So listen to this. So it's kind of spacey. If you saw there, I changed the delay to ping pong just because the non ping pong was a little too, clashing. So I changed it to ping pong. Actually, this chord's just a tiny bit early. I'm gonna move that back. That's the nice thing about piano. Guitar, if you're kind of early, kind of late, it's like, oh, too bad. Piano, you got the MIDI, so you can really play around with it. But yeah, I think from here I'm gonna try to get in a bass on this, kind of go for that sort of like boom, like sort of like punchy bass sound, and then from there we'll get some more flourishes and stuff like that. I'll probably end up throwing some guitar on, just knowing me, and then we'll call it a day. All right, so I added a bass and I toyed around with a lot of stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I toyed around with a lot of stuff. I gave up on this beat for a second, and then I toyed around with it a lot. One of the first things I did, I changed some of the drum samples. So that kick we had, that dirty hi-hat, thought that was a little too dirty. And then I changed the perk sound, that sort of army, right, or the snare sound to this sort of perk sound. And then I also took the keys and I pitched them down 4 steps. So this is what it sounds like now. So I also changed the preset of the Rhodes, and then I added in that little like sort of airy sound that you kind of hear in the back. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. That's just like an omnisphere texture sound. One thing I'm debating listening to it right now is do I want that roll in? Where are we? So do I want that rolling, or do I just want it like? I think I just want it like that. That'll loop a little cleaner. So no roll in for the. So what do we have here? This is 16 bars. Okay. So one thing about Brent faiyaz is that the bass, this bass is not bouncy enough. So I'm gonna fuck with this bass for a second, try to get a little more bouncy. Okay, so I took the bass, I took away some notes, I kind of moved some notes a half step early, give it a little more bounce, and now this is what it sounds like. So see, it definitely feels a lot more like Brent faiyaz now. The bass doesn't exactly hit where you'd expect it to hit. So before, the bass was a little more traditional. It kind of had that rhythm of the 1 and the 4. Now, like I moved for the first iteration, right? The bass is hitting a half beat early right here. So it's the 1 and the 3. And then here it's just both on the 1, which really gives it kind of this this weird feeling, but it kind of just keeps listening, makes listening a little more enjoyable when it's like that. Now I think I'm pretty much just gonna put a guitar line over the top for like a chorus, maybe a couple other things, and then we'll call it a day. Okay. So I took literally forever just to get in like the tiniest little guitar lick, but this is what it sounds like. So it just kind of adds some texture to it. And then I think the last thing I'll want is I'm going to use an AI program to split out some vocals from like an old R&B track. Kind of get that on here. Just give it like a little like texture. So I'm going to do that, try to throw that on, and then we'll kind of look at the finished loop. I'm not going to arrange it because that's boring. So we'll just throw that on and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so beat's done. I got a little vocal sample chopped up. It's from Faith Evans, Come Over. Very good song. Very sexual in nature, which is perfect for this. So I'm just going to play it without the drums because that's likely how you'd hear like a Brent Faiyaz song start. So if up until this point you're like, that doesn't really sound like a Brent Faiyaz song, listen to this part and tell me that it does not. So that's kind of like, that is the, if this song is a let's say this song is a Italian restaurant. This is the red sauce right here. All right. This right here is your marinara, right? The keys, the bass, and the vocal sample and all that. There's some bounce to it. It's sparse enough that you can really do a lot with it. You know, you can go, you can add pasta to it. You can, throw it over a chicken cutlet, maybe even. But this is really like the sauce that bleeds over everything. And, I'll play it with the drums, but really in a real Brent Faiyaz song, you might not even hear drums in something like this. Like maybe towards a certain part. And now that I have these drums, I'm thinking I might want to do some more like trappy drums. So I might do one more pass of like more trappy drums. These could be drums for a certain part, and then you can have more trappy drums come in for another part. Or sometimes I don't really even know the drums that I'm going to want until I get the full vibe of the melodies out. But it's hard to get the melodies out with having drums out to start with. Okay, so instead of putting in a whole different drum pattern with some like different sort of harder drums, I just went back and I grabbed the drums from before I changed out the kick and the snare waveform with the perk and the sort of softer kick. So this is what it sounds like with those original drums and the vocal sample and everything. And to give ideas for arranging, like one of the things you can do here is like the delay is very present, right? The delay on the key is very present. So you can turn it off for a section, right? That would sound like this. So that's very different. It's very like very sort of drier, a little more punchy. You can also take like, you could also edit the delay a little bit. And then, of course, the last arranging thing I'd say you could do with this is you can just take more of that sample and just chop it up differently. Like, I didn't even try, but where the sample leads out right here, in sort of like the 8-bar loop I made, you could definitely do something with that. So I'll just play that for a second so you can hear that. Like, I haven't chopped that up, I haven't done anything, but there's definitely potential there for something. But for the last time, thank you guys for coming, and I'll just play this and let it fade out.